There we go. Should be good. What's going on, y'all? We are back. I don't want to say 2 weeks in a row because it's only been like 2 days, 3 days.
This is even sooner than a week, isn't it? This is like 4 or 5 days.
2 in 1 week. Imagine that. We've got the doctor
like a
this
bus.
Week. He was in last week. He did a late house call.
Yeah, I sort of gorilla'd myself into it.
Yeah. But he's here from the start now, and he's got some exciting adventures to tell us about. But before we get to that, how is everybody?
That last week felt like handing off the baton like halfway through. So because I left after about 90 minutes, and then when I got the final, I downloaded the audio or the video for the audio. It was like 3 hours. So,
yeah.
So I haven't even listened to it. So I don't know what you guys are on about after I left. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. It's great to be back. And back again. Yeah, all good. So nothing to really report in such a short space of time. But we've got interesting things to talk about. Yeah, cool. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, do Jake last just because he's done the most stuff. Not a massive amount for me. Last week was like, I think it was 6 gigs in 8 days, and man, one of them was just odd. Like it was just a function wedding thing, standard kind of bread and butter, I guess. The keys player, and I feel really conflicted about this because the keys player was like super green, and he's not really. The guy that ran the band knew him from college, and like when he did his like final recital, it was also like mad dirty loop stuff and everything. However, that's sort of months of preparation, and you just sort of, it's kind of its own enclosed thing. So he was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And then it kind of wasn't fine. It's just making really strange choices. And maybe that's something that we can chat about as the episode goes on. But it's kind of like, technically, he had all the facility to do the job well. But the choices he was making, it was like, there were some tunes where he was like, he's really in the charts. I think he just brought a load of charts on an iPad. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. But if every single person sources their own separate chart, things can get a bit wonky. And there was times where it was like 3 bars ahead and he didn't even know. Just really odd stuff. But that wasn't the worst part. Obviously, everyone that listens to this is a guitar player or musician for the most part. I'm going to throw out a percentage and you could tell me if you think I'm wrong. I reckon 95% of first dances at weddings that are played by a live band have never been rehearsed. And they just happen in there and then. Out of 100, there might be 5 that like rehearse, I would say. So it was, what tune was it? It was Frankie Valli.
They're not even rehearsed.
You what? They haven't even rehearsed. Never mind rehearsed. Never been. Isn't the initial rehearsing?
Yeah, exactly.
It was Can't Take My Eyes Off You. Frankie Valli.
Yeah.
Made famous by 10 Things I Hate About You, obviously. It was a bit of a late setup, and then we started playing it, and it's like that weird. It's actually a cool chord progression. It's almost like an A over G, and then an A minor over G. It's like the whole thing's over G. So we sort of get that bit, and then we're playing this G, and the singer's looking at me because she knows something's up, and she's like, "Just play me a G, just play me a G." Bride and groom are stood there. Obviously, it's the first dance, so everyone's filming, and someone's playing an F sharp, and it's definitely not me.
Oh, has he left his
drop pedal on?
Well, it wasn't him. It was the bass player that was running the band. I think either his bass had got knocked, or because the setup was so like rushed, he just didn't clock it. But he's playing what he thinks is a G.
Yeah.
And it's coming out as an F sharp. So now you've got, A over F sharp. A minor over F sharp.
That's so dangerous.
That's not too bad.
So dangerous. I've started
G
specifically
over F
for
sharp.
that reason having any song that uses a transposer, it's a separate patch on the fractal. So because I've had when I used to use the drop pedal, the drop is amazing. It's probably still one of the best, most accurate feeling ones. But I had too many embarrassing moments of like forgetting to turn
switch
it
it
off.
off.
So if I've got to go down half a step or whatever for certain open string tunes, it's like it's got its own patch. Just go down a patch and then that's to change back to my main live patch. So dangerous.
So just like a copy with the drop on it kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, I'll do a copy of that, and then maybe sometimes just have like I might even just have like an intro verse, chorus or solid if it's specific effects. Do it for that reason as well. I have a different patch, but most of my gig, I live on one preset, living on a preset, and just
Is that what it's called? If it's not, it is now.
Yeah. And then yeah, so I've got like so bright side, anything that's like half a step down, things like that. Well, that bright side's now half a step up, which is really weird.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But it got like we got all the way to like a G vamp, so it was probably a good. I mean, it's probably like a good 8 bars before the bass player realized, because he was like G, and I'm like, yeah, yes, it is, and he plays guitar a bit as well. So I was like, there's my G, fam. You know what I mean? It's like, and I even got to the point where I was like, is my, like sometimes your tremolo arm can get stuck where your lead is, and it can put. I was like, no, it's not that. It's definitely not me. 100% not me. But that was, it went on way too long. But yeah, other than that, and then the drummer just doing like weird stuff drives me insane. Like it'll be a tune like Ironic by Alanis Morissette, and there's that middle bit where it's just kind of guitar and vocals, and that's when he should be just like ticking time away, like a good responsible drummer. But that's when he's decided to start pissing about with his in-ears or whatever, and he can't do that and keep time. So this hand just completely goes out of the window, and I'm trying to like play, and I'm just shouting at him, I'm just going time. But yeah, that was this weekend.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some rough ones this year. I think, like, yeah, there's been some just like clients as well, and like it's been a bit of a slog with people. So I get the feeling like a lot of people booked bands when money wasn't so bad, and then the dates are coming around now and everything's tighter, and it's like just turning the screws. So it's been a bit of a nightmare this summer. It's not been a particularly fun one for and gigging work, and it's super busy. So like you said, Dan, it's been so many gigs. I'm wondering if next year is going to actually be a lot quieter. Just have a suspicion it might be.
The climate
Might even make it
bit.
so. I think I might need some time off of it, to be honest. Let's maybe do some other things. So I think just
I'm still locked into that. You're self-employed, and if you're not working and someone says, can you work, you say yes. But that's just because I'm Jake's in a similar position, but in a different bracket. But because I'm on my own, it's like I'm like, oh, I can't let my foot off the gas just in case. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm certainly not letting my foot off the gas, but what I mean is just like say, okay, well, I'm going to do something else, and sort of
just make different choices.
Just different choices. That's the thing. It's like, in fact, yeah, it's one of the age-old things when you work like you guys. Probably a lot of people listen to this as well. Like you are continually always working. If your work is your passion, then it never ever stops. so even when it probably should. So yeah.
So Jakey boy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what have I been up to? I can't actually remember very well what we spoke about last time. There was a lot of
just you pissed.
Casual. Don't you dare. Maybe yes. So
it's all right. It's all fair here.
Yeah. So the first thing is on this very podcast is my first one with my new mic, which is
what is it?
It's a Roswell Mini K87. So did this like really fun session with Darby Todd and Dave Marks out in LA after NAMM.
Oh yeah.
And to say thank you for doing this session, Roswell sent me this mic, and this the guy, the owner of the company, used to run a company called Mike Parts, and they sent me this one, which is like a kind of it's like a Neumann clone, and
Nice.
I've been using them on like recording acoustic stuff for my album, which I'm working on a little bit more lately.
Oh
Which has
yeah.
been a lot of fun.
Looking forward to being able to like talk about that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
We've got the drum edits in. We've got some bass parts going in. We're really making sort of slow but steady progress, and we're almost getting to the point where I'm putting down final, lead parts, but actually putting down final rhythm parts now, which is quite exciting. It's starting to show itself to me. But yeah, apart from that, just been doing a whole bunch of gigs. I've got a little.
What are
bit
you using for the
of
rhythm guitar? Is that sorry, just
no,
before
sure.
we just what is it? What are you using for the rhythms? Just curious, being nerdy.
As in, like, what guitars?
Yeah, guitars themselves. Yeah.
So I'm finding I've got this this blue Ibanez, which is here. This is like the sort of the Telecaster type T-type.
IZS.
Yeah.
Fixed bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, the fixed bridge one. That sounds really cool. And I use, weirdly, I don't use what maybe people expect I would use for rhythm. Rhythm guitar is a bit of a weird one in instrumental music. If you use something that's like too martially and too almost like too close to what you'd use for your lead sound, it takes up the kind of wrong space. Also because there's no vocals in it, and the lead part is a guitar, I feel like it really sends the rhythm guitar parts quite low down in the tessitura, so I don't want to end up in Mudsville either. So I basically use like a telly for all of the rhythm stuff, and it just sort of depends what's going to work with the song. So I've got this.
Nice.
I also have this telly, which is really nice. I don't know if I've shown you that.
I don't know. Didn't know you had that.
Yeah, I've had it for ages. It's
cool.
It's nice. It's great for. It's really, really great for rhythm.
Do you opt for? No, this might just be a coincidence, but I feel like you've had a fixed bridge thing in the past for a similar reason. But do you opt for a fixed bridge guitar for rhythm parts for some sort of stability thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stability and consistency. It's a really efficient energy transfer from string to pickup if there's no energy being lost in the sort of subtle movements of the bridge.
Yeah, I find you can also sort of dig a bit harder as well on riffs on
Absolutely.
fixed bridge.
It just
rather
sounds
because there's not
bigger.
the give with the trim. Yeah,
the flop or the flutter. So it's. I mean, I don't use them for lead really at all. Maybe if there's like a sonic reason to use it, I would. But it's funny. You'd think by listening to it, it's some sort of modern humbucking type guitar, but it isn't. And also the other thing I do a lot of is I play like the exact same part with an acoustic and blend it lightly. It doesn't actually sound like an acoustic really. It almost sounds like a kind of an electric. It makes the sound of the electric guitar that you hear almost sound like it's got an acoustic property to it. So you're hearing what you're playing.
Almost like percussion. I find that it's like a textural percussive sound.
If anything, it adds a little bit more transient to the front of the sound of the chords.
That's it.
And no, not much sustain really. And again, you just put it quite low in the mix, or at least I'm doing that at the moment because obviously I'm mixing all the demos.
Yeah,
and it just makes things sound, cool to me.
think there's something about the sort of edge of breakup jangle sound as well. If you double like an edge of breakup kind of clean part, like semi-clean sort of part with acoustic, playing very similar thing, that has a really nice sort of textural thing for rhythm as well. It's
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
and also one thing I'm really learning about lately is the importance of room reverbs
Oh yeah.
on
Like
those really subtle, like
oh,
almost going, okay, you don't even know there's a reverb on this type of reverb, but it gives, especially on those mid gain sounds, because that is what our brain is used to hearing. It's like used to hearing the way in which that sound interacts with acoustic space, and it's not necessarily true of like hyper clean sounds or hyper distorted sounds.
hmm.
That
That's
would
just reminded me.
come
I've
into
got a
play.
great topic for us later on. If we get onto it, I want to talk to you guys about something. Just flag that. I'm going to write that down.
Will it be ultra nerdy like all this other stuff we've just been talking about? 'Cause
It
that
will be
Yeah, man.
probably even more
Yeah,
so, but
okay.
it's a really good one. I think it's a really good
You
one.
Brilliant.
make
And
you
I
make
want
an,
your opinions as well. So.
you make an interesting point there, Jake, because like I am absolutely no recording whiz whatsoever, because I feel like there are tried and tested techniques that you only really know about if you are around other people that are very studio, like people that are making albums and people that are working with producers and people that have been in that world. As in like I'm not quite like this, but I'm probably more on the side of like, oh, I need to record something. And because I'm not like double tracking, I'm not like building stuff up, I'm just sort of, it's just like, social media stuff. You tend to dial in what is essentially a live tone to record.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're talking about is like the next layer above, when it's like, actually, if we're going to be making this thing, we've got to do this a bit different. And we are, it's like a difference in like restaurant. It's like an extra star, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But there's some really interesting stuff there, because I've been reading that Steve Lukather book and hearing about all these, like the Rosanna solo is like triple tracked. It's like just nailed it 3 times in a row, just like bang on.
Yeah.
It's like
That's a Vi trick as well, wasn't it? He would often like double his like solos and pan them like in this crawly parts, crazy stuff.
But the thing is,
it's another world, and it's quite addictive when you hear about all these things. You're like, oh, I want to try doing that,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, with some of these sounds, you're gonna have a, like, let's say you've got a vocal part. In order for that to sort of really, sort of push through whatever mix or whatever, sometimes people have, let's say they've got this melodic line, and so let's say our lyric is, let's go random lyric generator. Upgrade to Zoom Workplace Pro. Okay, that's our lyric. and the song goes, upgrade to Zoom Workplace Pro. And that's like the line. You will have people doubling that with upgrade to Zoom Workplace Pro under it. Like no, almost like no pitch whisper. And then layer upon layer of things like that. And then all of a sudden that very small sound is tricked. It still sounds like one thing, but the brain just sends it psychoacoustically to a much wider space. Those little tricks are really cool. I mean, I haven't really. It's kind of weird when I build up these demos. It all starts with everything quite economically put together, and so the lead guitar all of a sudden sounds pretty good just as a lead guitar. And then you get the real drums, and then you get like a bit of production going on, and everything starts to sound good, and then the lead guitar that you had that sounded good to begin with now sounds so tiny. And so you've got, okay, so I've got to actually find ways to embiggen this lead part. And so what I've also been doing as well, which is a cool little trick, I don't know whether, again, I could do this and then send it to whoever's mixing it, and they'll go, no, I don't like that, I don't think that works. But I've been using the Neural DSP Rabea plugin. Has a synth in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been getting it to like track whatever I'd played in with the lead part, and so it plays with a synth. It just thickens it up.
That's really interesting because that's where I was kind of going to go. Like when I was making some notes just about the neural DSP plugins with the with the room IRs, the new updates for the X ones, and how much of a massive difference that makes when you're playing with ears or headphones. Honestly, I think it was the Nolly X one that I updated to, and man, it just like it's one of the best sounds I've had in ears by blending in those room IRs. I
Yeah,
don't know
sure.
exactly what they're doing, but yeah, what I wanted to ask you guys was like how do you like the ears situation? Obviously, Jake, you do it a lot. I've moved to it almost exclusively over the last 12 months. But Dan, have you done much with it? And yeah,
What in it is, you mean?
yeah, are you doing that with all your gigs at the moment? Are you doing
Just
ears?
I do it with the function stuff, and then any shows I've done, I've had like a little mixer thing on there.
And what are you using? Is it
I
what you've got in now?
Yeah. It's just these.
What are they?
I haven't got they're just like the Amazon specials.
Are they Linsole?
Yeah.
They're like
KZs.
KZ, yeah, KZ
Yeah.
10.
They're
Pro or
great.
whatever.
They're really
This
good.
is why I bring it up because I got such a dilemma and I don't know like I was just saying to Dan before we started, like I'm wearing these and not them because I've got like a little spot in my ear that's really painful. And I
Yeah.
think it's come from from wearing these all the time.
Yeah,
I've
I've got bruised like because of. I think I might have mentioned it on the last thing I did, like 34 shows last
yeah,
month, all with in
man.
ears in, right? So constantly using those things, and I
But the,
feel like I've got a little bruise in this side.
yeah,
I don't know what, like it's all like too much use.
mm, yeah, well, I think it's probably like just my sweat is notoriously acidic or whatever and whatever, so I'm probably just like it's disgusting to talk about, but the inside of my ears are probably awful. But yeah, so I just don't know what to do, like whether to because the KZ things off Amazon are sound so good, like for the money. I think it was £37 for when they were on offer. I bought
Yeah,
them,
they're
and
ridiculous.
they sound 4 times better than the Shure ones, the 215s, is it, or whatever what I was using. And so
Just such a travesty. Like,
yeah, it's bonkers that's the case. But
yeah,
it's like so I'd
the
saved
only thing that's
about
better is the cable. The Shure cable is better.
yeah.
It's like the only thing that's better than the Linsoles. But
But the sort of the £800 mark, molds and then really great things, like it just seems like the kind of the economy, like the diminishing returns of like, is it like it's like 20 times the cost of these KZ
sure.
things, but it's not going to be 20 times better in terms of guitar sound in my ears, is it?
Oh no, it's actually worse.
What, it sounds worse?
Well, yeah. So, so when I use I had my Cosmics, and they were in my bag with my iPad Pro, which was stolen from a pub in King's Cross. So obviously, in ears getting stolen, it's just something that's completely bespoke to me. Yeah. Anyway, they were gone, and I had to get something quickly to use instead. So I got the Linsoles on recommendations. I think mine were like 40 quid, and I was really, really impressed. And the guitar, like in my ears, sounded better. It sounded like kind of beefier and juicier, and almost like a bit more blended.
What was that using? Was that Quad Cortex or
anything that I was playing on the shows?
So that's not amps,
probably
is it?
not my Quad Cortex, to be honest.
Is it amps and stuff?
No, never.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean sort of. Yeah, we use amps on Aber Voyage, but I wish we didn't. So so going back to this, the thing with the Cosmics, I did buy them again, and I use those, and I'll always use those over the Linsols, is they're much more accurate in terms of what you're hearing, much more reliable.
Do you mean everything else, other instruments?
Yeah, but there's no colouring of the sound of the guitar sound, so I know that what's going on is there. But where the real money comes into effect, from my perspective, is in the absolute. Again, this is dependent on the fit that you get from having molded in-ears, so it's much more isolating in terms of the so because it's much more isolating, I don't have this effect where I feel like instruments are blending into one another, and it's almost like the stereo field is wider and I hear things in different places of the frequency spectrum, and transients are much more quick. They sound like sort of quick and individual, rather than like sort of this mush, which kind of can happen when you're using non-molded, cheaper earphones. And because of that, it means that I don't have to like strain to listen for the click track. So
Right.
So they are considerably better for working use, especially in noisy environments. But I find that the Linsols are really flattering on my guitar sound and actually sound pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's because I think the thing with I hate so much about in-ears is what it is, it destroying the sound of your guitar. It just sounds like most of the things I've used prior to these
You
have
make your
been just
peace
like
with
a
it.
busy, fizzy, buzzy, like tin of beat, can of bees
Yeah.
sound.
You
I
But
make
don't
the
actually like
KZs were the
Victor.
first time that I'd ever put into my ears and played a guitar. I was like, whoa, that sounds and feels like my guitar sound. For
I
37 quid.
I don't actually like the in-ears thing. I think if I was doing stuff
I
all
don't
the
think anyone
time.
likes it, Dan.
No.
one likes
It's like a best of a shit
Yeah.
situation.
But
And you're trying
I
to get
don't like. I know what I've said this multiple times. But I know why it's done, but I don't really like the sound of a very close mic'd guitar cab. So when I'm doing like function gigs, I just have an amp with a mic on it. So I'm getting the sound like it's like right
But that's
there.
why I think what I was talking about with the DSP, the Nolly X, the room IRs is just so incredible. Like you blend those in, you bring those up. Honestly, it doesn't sound anymore, and it's not like you're just getting like a big reverb or something. It's something that they're doing. Maybe it is just a reverb, but I don't know. There's something about the way that's implemented. It's one of the most impressive kind of like room feeling sounds I've ever had coming through my ears with those new updates.
I haven't done any gigs with in-ears and a modeler, which I imagine is a whole different
Yeah,
thing.
especially with stereo effects.
I would imagine that's a better way of doing it than having a mic'd up cab directly into your ear.
Absolutely, 100% is better.
I imagine
In fact, I've got
surely that angle is more accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here, because it's just true and evident. You know, when I did that Jeff Beck tour,
Yeah.
so there's videos that exist of that, and there's like a jam at the end. And this is not in any way. I really don't want to sound as though la di da, aren't I great? That's not the point of this little bit. What I'm saying is that at the jam, I think I was criticised by maybe an older gentleman who was on the tour with us for how my guitar sounded while we were on stage. It wasn't as loud as people with two big cabinets with two different amps and big Marshall stack turned up really loud. But when I watch back the jams, I'm gonna say my guitar sounds best out front. It sounded fatter. It sounded better. If a sound guy's got to like rush around and try to find two mic sounds and all that stuff, yeah, they did sound better on stage, but I sounded better out front, and that's what's important. I mean, again, when I say I sound better, I don't mean that from a perspective of taste. I mean that it from a point of view of saying what is technically happening up there that is coming out here.
Yeah, that's
Right?
it.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
So
Not
so
not the you know the sort of subjective nature of the guitar tone, but
yeah.
like, is it audible? Is it full? Is it sort of like canceling out? Is it, you know, that sort of thing?
Is it a
Like,
quality tone that's coming out front?
yeah.
And it's just so much easier for them to, it's just a fader then, you
Mm.
know, and it's a juicy sound that's like got sort of nicely produced reverb. You cannot do that with amps, and yeah, they sounded great on stage. And the thing is when you listen to an amp, you're listening to a really important component without realizing it, which is the acoustic space that amp is producing its noise. And that we kind of bake that into our impression of what an amp is doing, and in, at different volumes, that impulse response, which actually it is an impulse. The room is like an impulse response, right? You put out an impulse, and the room responds. That will like
Jake walking into a club.
yeah, that will like signal off at, in different ways at different volumes, and so we experience amps in a certain way like that. But when you take that element out, I mean, I guarantee you that you know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the real 5150 and the Kemper 5150, right? People have done this experiment, they've A-B'd it, they wouldn't know. They really don't. But obviously that you have to add in that our impression of those things is often playing amps in a room, or at least for most of our lives. I think that's changing. So the room reverb that you would use, especially with an edge of breakup thing, I think is almost like an essential part of. It's almost like a EQ chunkifier, because it almost like the impulse response fills in little sort of, like if you've got like a frequency like this, and the room reverb is like mapping.
Describe it for
that.
the audio listeners.
Okay, so for the audio listeners, I did like a wavy signal with my hand where you've got like peaks and troughs, and you overlay the reverb, which is taking that signal, and it sort of fills it out a little bit. It fills in those frequencies that are missing, and delaying them, and giving that sort of sense of what we would say is the, you know, putting it into an acoustic space without necessarily us thinking that it's there as a reverb, because it's just a room sound. So that's something that's really, it's really important to do in some aspects, but then often you don't want all of those extra frequencies and masking effects getting involved in a busy mix. So it depends on the time and place. But yeah, if I'm just playing alone, I like to put a room reverb on it.
Have you guys tried the Waza headphones?
Oh
The
yeah,
Boss Waza headphones.
because Tom was really impressed by those, wasn't he? Like,
I've
he was
tried
like, wow,
them
these are
a couple
amazing.
of times. Yeah, they
Like
they are
Air ones. Is it like the Air? Or
what they're
is that
called,
something else?
Waza headphone, Waza Air, it might be something like that.
It's like
but
a
Boss.
wireless kind of
I,
Optimus Prime
Yeah.
looking thing.
I feel like
So-
they didn't. I feel like they didn't. What's the word? Do a focus group on the name Waza.
Waza.
With anyone from England.
Well, it's when you put like
Waza
Waza
craft.
and craft. It's like a
Yeah.
Waza craft. It's like a Waza
It
craft.
still makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Waza craft.
But honestly, those things are amazing as well. Like, and Boss have their own kind of quirk on, you know, things that are for better or worse, and some great, some not so great. These are incredible, and it really does feel like you're playing an amp with these headphones. And they're very expensive and they've got limitations, but that's the only other thing that's sort of has been blown me away. And that's why I think these with the neural plugins with the room updates, it's just like this thing that kind of reminded me a little bit of like the experience of like trying the Boss things for the first time. But I wonder if it would be like possible in the future to have that, you know, as they sort of port things over and it becomes possible in the Quad Cortex, that you could like you know, just have that coming into your ears, but have it going, you know, not going out the front of the house, but you could have the room bars in your ears.
You certainly can do that with Kemper, but you would be plugged into your Kemper. So you would have to have the feed going back through the Kemper to your for the rest of the mix. Does that make sense?
Right.
So the same would
Yeah, yeah.
the same would hold um, for something like a quad cortex, where you're sending something, because again with all these units you can often send different things to front of house that you would send to let's say you've got a cab on stage, for example. You want to send a different thing to the cab. It's entirely possible to do that. Send, make sure, all those little considerations are there, but I think it gets a little bit complicated. There are personal mixing units that have a features like enhancer, but there's also this thing called Clang. Have you heard about this? Clang audio mixer, which is like it's immersive in-ear mixing with intuitive control is the thing. I've tried it once. I didn't quite get to grips with it. It is nuts how like complicated it is, but essentially it's, well, I say essentially, the feeling you get in your in-ears is much more sort of spatial rather than or like a kind of surround sound. It's like the next level. Let me send you guys the link just for your.
So what?
I've never used it on a gig. I've used it in rehearsals, and to be honest, I found it a little bit too complicated to use quickly, which is often.
What is it? Is it like
important.
some sort of mixer like?
Yeah. So when you do
A physical item.
yeah, it's a physical item. So when I do any of my shows, well, no, actually, this is not true anymore of a few of them. Unless you've got a monitor engineer, you have a little box, often referred to as Avions, because that's one of the main brands of these personal mixing. I've done weddings where I've used my iPhone or iPad, and you can connect to the mixing desk if it's like a Yamaha or a.
Our band does that all the
Yeah.
with the Alan and Heath. It's everyone's on iPhone or iPad mixes.
So, but this is like a little box that's got those channels on, and it's the quickest one. And obviously, you can't be sat there on your phone trying to make adjustments. And also, this is just quicker. So it's one of those. It's like a personal mixing desk. But yeah, this one's pretty cool actually. I hope to get to use one and mess around with it. I know people who absolutely love them. But yeah, I can't remember how we got onto that. Oh no, so we're talking about getting the sort of sense of space. I believe that's possible with this. But again, to be honest, I've played such really well programmed guitar sounds for what sounds good out front aren't often the best fun to play.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned to do in my sort of professional life is take myself out of trying to get a better sound and just make my peace with the sound I make. So that way you just don't. You just by accepting it sort of on a deep level, you can just take it off the list of things to worry about.
And it's not your if it's not your creative endeavor, then it's not. Then I try to remind myself of that. Like if it's not, you're there to do a job.
Yeah.
And
the other thing to mention, Jake, is the shows that you dep on and stuff. None of those sounds are made by you.
Nope.
And a lot of the time it's not your gear. Well, all of the time it's not your gear. So you're turning up, you're playing someone else's guitar. And if we're being 100% about this, I might be wrong on this, but the guy in the chair, he probably didn't make the sounds either. It was whoever started the tour and installed it and stuff.
It's often the case. Let's say.
So you've kind of you're getting whatever you dealt really with some of those.
Precisely.
Yeah, which is again, it's another thing. Like in that situation, I mean, you've had everything stripped out of your decision making process of the end result. Like it's literally just tone is in the fingers at that point.
Yeah.
I've got a cat on my lap.
Hey,
Yes,
incapacitated.
we've got Rexy joining the podcast. You can say hello.
Oh, this instantly better podcast now for that.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, you got me out.
Hey.
We got Rexy on the podcast. See you, Rexy.
Uh,
Yeah, future star in the making.
That I've got, on that actually, I've just got a personal question of my own. When you've got stuff like Book of Mormon's got that like ridiculous sort of shred bit.
Yeah.
What
spooky
is,
Mormon hell dream.
what is the tone like for that as a player to be like? Because you're at that point, the gun is pointing at you, saying "shred, motherfucker."
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh.
But again, it's in isolation. It's like it's pretty horrible. But you're playing in a loud band with loads of things going on at that point. So as long as you can hear yourself and it's distorted, it sounds kind of good.
Is that still on XFX 2?
They've changed to Kemper, and so have
Kemp.
Hamilton.
All right.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
the change to Kemper on Hamilton is really great. The AX8, which is what it used to be. First of all, for some reason, there's so much latency on the AX8 compared to the Kemper. The Kemper speaks so much more quickly. I don't know why. And yeah, the patch changes and all that sort of thing. For some reason, it just wasn't cutting it. So they've all gone to Kemper. The Kemper stage is better than the Kemper head for several reasons, and the Kemper stage is seems to be like the most reliable unit for those types of gigs.
Is that the little floorboard guy, or is that plugged into some sort of rack thing as well?
No, so the toaster Kemper,
Yeah.
that one has problems with all sorts of things.
Very old now, isn't it?
Yeah, specifically the volume pedal. I've had so many problems with the volume pedal, and I think it's just because you're plugging a cable, like an Ethernet cable, from the unit to the Kemper, the head. I think sometimes there are like huge glitches where it doesn't change. I found the Kemper stage to be much more reliable on that front because it's all sort of interconnected unit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ethernet cables have got to be like, there's got to be a better way. They're just such a flimsy thing.
I mean, you guys, before I crashed the stream last time, you guys were talking about the business model of let's call them downloadable extra content on these things. You get
DLCs.
Yeah. So I have to say, with Kemper, obviously that's always been there from third parties, but I really admire the fact that it's the same, like it's just the same as it used to be, just like with some, it's more functionality added. That Kemper also took a long time to develop an editor that was anything like what you could do with Fractal and Line 6.
It seems like with Kemper, they just came up out the gate with something that I don't think had been done before, and because it was so great and it was so long ago, people just kind of stuck with it, and it's like it didn't. I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't recall. Was there anyone doing as a competitor to them for the first 6 years or so?
No,
That's a really good
think
question.
so, because it was basically like modeling versus profiling.
Well, so it was, but it wasn't just profiling. It was Kemper. There was, as far as I'm aware, there wasn't anybody doing that.
Yeah,
Am I wrong?
No, I don't know. Certainly not in terms of like a flagship marketing way. But it's kind of interesting. I think capturing or profiling guitar sounds was being done elsewhere, but I can't think of the specifics. because you can certainly do like EQ matching and things like that. But yeah, it's very cool. It's a very cool bit of gear. It's it's still the same bit of gear that you could buy. I mean, how long now? 10 years ago, something?
Oh, Kemper was 2011, wasn't it?
Whoa, okay.
Let's just do a fact check
Wow,
on that.
so, yeah. Get that up for me, Jamie.
I was going to say, pull it up, Jamie.
Yeah.
Pull it up, baby.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes that it's still, it's still being
1969. I think that's probably not.
That'll be Ronald Kemper.
When did the Kemper toaster?
AD 300.
2012. So for 12 years. I mean, that's
amazing. And it's still
like,
you can still buy that thing, and that's the only thing. Whereas if you look at AxeFX, I suppose AxeFX you will have had in that same, not quite that same period, because that's even older, right?
Original Axe was that 2009 maybe, or
Right.
10.
So you'd have had AxeFX, AxeFX Ultra, AxeFX 2, AxeFX Ultra Expanded Edition or whatever. And
It's AxeFX Mark 42 Turbo Championship Edition.
Yeah. So
this time it's personal.
So it's kind of interesting to see that, and I wonder if I wonder what the thing with, because Quad Cortex is like the only product, right? There's no like other. There's not like a rack unit. There's not there's not sort of other ways.
Peripherals.
Yeah. So it's just that. That's what it is. And I wonder if that'll be the case much longer. And again, when I'm saying this, I actually wonder. I don't have any inside information at all. So it's kind of.
Well, there was a lot of speculation at NAMM with the whole
the soon thing, right?
Soon bit.
Yeah. What do they do? Because I would like them to. I'm a Quad Cortex user. It's what I use.
I'm a quad experimenter.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and it's brilliant for reasons that you work out on gigs. I don't use it at home. I don't see much reason to use it.
Total opposite of me.
Yeah,
right now.
I don't see much reason to use it when I've got these plugins. That
you've got a good interface as well, haven't you? You've got a good.
Yeah, I've got the Apollo Twin, and most importantly, I have a good cable. Like it's really, like I've got the these Mogami cables. For anyone listening who's thinking about upgrading their interface, you'll get a bigger bang for your buck by investing in like a really high-end cable than spending an extra grand on your interface. I've experimented with this. It's quite fun. But yeah, cables important.
Gonna get one of those $6,000 like.
Oh no,
diamond
not like
encrusted solid gold ones.
No, the again.
Yeah, my Spidey sense is going there, Jake. I've got to say.
No, I'm talking about like basically Mogami's like industry standard. And if you've just got to A/B them with less quality cables, and you will see the difference, or hear the difference rather. It's fundamentally important to the sound that comes out of your guitar, and to an interface when you're DIing, right? DIing and playing through plugins. The cable is doing more work than the interface. Let me put it that way.
Shall we?
Should we talk about the actual topic?
You are the topic, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I did this BBC prom, which was nuts. I think
let's set the stage for the kind of how big this is, because in terms of UK venues, like the Royal Albert Hall, I don't know if international listeners will get this, probably because it is so world renowned, but like the Royal Albert Hall it's as prestigious a big a venue as you could possibly, other than maybe Wembley Stadium, like it's the other one that's like
you got Wembley,
like
Buckingham
O2.
Palace.
Yeah, maybe
top
O2, maybe, but I'd put like Albert Hall above like the O2.
Albert Hall's a
terms of-
different vibe, isn't it?
You get more quality stuff there, I would say. It's maybe not as big as Wembley.
No, and it's not like a kind of giant commercial stadium.
Yeah.
It's an old fashioned it's
concert hall, isn't it?
it's a concert hall that it's an adaptable space, but it is essentially a classical music venue.
Yeah.
It's I've never seen a rock gig at the Albert Hall with a live sound as good as it could be elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's not an idea. I mean, I'm not saying that the sound guys didn't do a good job, or that it didn't sound great. I'm just saying that it's just a hard place to get a good sound. So it was at the Royal Albert Hall, and I was first of all extremely excited. So what happened? Let me just rewind maybe to my university days. So at the time, my girlfriend at the time when I was at university was an engineer and sound engineer, and she did a bit of work experience placement with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra. And when they were doing a prom, I got a free ticket to go and see it, and I sat in like whatever boxes that the comp tickets got for this gig, and I watched a BBC prom, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. And I'd not really understood what the BBC proms were, and essentially they're classical music. It's a classical music festival that is put on every year in summer, and the idea is that it should be for everyone, and the tickets for the proms are fantastically cheap for walk-up tickets. I think for the one I did,
no dynamic pricing.
No dynamic pricing. No, they actually do, because because we're such a nerd. But what you have to do is you have to queue for them, which is a form of surge pricing. And yes, queuing is a form of surge pricing. I didn't know if that was a skeptical at Beeps.
No, it was just
you have to queue, and there's no guarantee that you'll get one. But it is like, at the moment, I think it's like £11. So you can buy a seat beforehand for more money, but it's essentially a kind of, the idea was you would promenade, you'd go in and you'd have people off the street after work, and they would watch a Beethoven symphony. It's an incredible institution for getting people in to see stuff. And if you think of a concert hall, all of those are seated, but at the proms, the sort of dance floor area is stood, so you can go watch a symphony being performed, but you'd be stood on this dance floor, and because
in the mosh pit.
Yeah, because you have a circle of doom or whatever it's called, wall of death. So because of that, the proms has like
ring
really
slam pit.
It's got like this really important feeling to me as someone who loves classical music, and has been to and sort of listened to many proms over the years. It has this, like, it was really amazing to me I never thought I'd be playing one of them. So there is that like element to it where I'm like going, oh wow, this is like such a wonderful part of British cultural life.
So what was it? You haven't said what it is yet.
What was what?
So tell them what you were actually playing.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah. So I was playing a BBC prom, and it was I got the gig essentially because our good friend Callum Owl put me up to it. Because again, we'd worked before, and it's always the way, isn't it? You've worked with someone before, and if you deliver, Cal and I have done a few projects now, and it's like, well, the BBC Concert Orchestra don't have a paid up rhythm section. They've got their orchestra, and then if they want to do something else, they have these like sort of bolt on players if they need. a guitarist, a drummer, and they pick the right person for the right job, you'd hope. But Callum had arranged virtually this whole show, which is amazing. But he was like, "Well, I'm gonna get my guys in." So it's the same rhythm section that I did.
Get the boys in.
Yeah, get the boys in. So we did a rehearsal at Maida Vale with the conductor, and that was interesting. There were 2 sets of music. Like,
did we say it was disco yet? Did you say?
Oh, it was the disco prom. Okay, yeah. So it
was a wall of disco.
Yeah, so we were playing 2 sets of disco music arranged by Callum, which was so fun. But obviously, you need 2 guitars, and if you think of disco music, there's a lot of effecty guitars in there as well, which was kind of fun for me. But we'll get onto that. So what I mean, I can talk you through the process in detail, really. Callum said, okay, there's guitar 1 where I've done most of the lead stuff, and guitar 2 where I've done sort of the rhythm stuff. And so he was like, do you want to just decide which ones you're going to do? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went through the set list, and I was like trying to balance out who gets to do what parts. So
have you mentioned who is the other guitar player, by the way?
The other guitar player is my Tommy Emerton.
Absolutely.
Who was
his guitar playing is only second to his ability to eat curry late at night.
Yeah, exactly, and make lewd inferences, which is a particular skill of his.
Old school podcast friend.
Yes, absolutely.
Back in the day.
And so what we did was just sort of divide out the songs. You do lead in that one, I'll do this one, do this one, do this one. And we went to rehearsal, and you basically just played through everything once. And I was like, just programming stuff. But the thing is, with these BBC rehearsals, they're so unionized. You do not go you don't go a second over the allotted time, and you don't start a second before, but you start on the downbeat, right? That's exactly what you're meant to do. You get yourself set up and ready, but you have to go. You have to go at that
pay
point.
anyone overtime vibes.
Yeah, exactly. So because overtime is really expensive for the company, so you just don't do it. So you ran through it, and I'm trying to program on the quad cortex as I go, like any adjustments, because obviously you don't know until you're actually playing it there. And obviously the orchestra wasn't there, so there was a few things, and I was trying to think, well, how, there's I can program it as per the record, but as per the record, it's like very close. And I wonder if that's going to work with an orchestra, or it's like a bit harsh. And so you're just trying to make these calculations as you go.
Did you do any? Because you knew what the gig was before the rehearsal, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
So did you do any loose patch kind of, that'll be a bass and then I'll change it as I go?
No, actually what I did is I decided upon a sort of 2 or 3 amps that I would use, and a lot of those sounds were amps without cabs. A Roland without a cab, for that sort of DI or straight into the desk sound, but with a bit of warmth to it. And we used. I'm a big believer when you're programming these things that you shouldn't change cabinets too often, because the cabinet is like the sound of,
or amps.
So try to keep it consistent. Don't give yourself that extra hard work of balancing out these things that kind of
living on a preset, man.
You don't want big EQ tilts or shapes to change. And so I can't remember what cab, but most of the lead sounds like a Marshall Plexi with some sort of drive in front of it. A lot of the clean sounds are either like a Fender thing or the Roland. There was one song where I did decide that a Vox was the only thing that was going to really work. But in general, the whole thing was done on those things. And I did it per song, so I could adjust really small things, or some things called for an extreme phaser sound or a chorus, and it was really fun. In my in-ears, it was a joy, But of course, you've got two guitarists who are both running stereo rigs, and I don't think the engineers wanted to indulge that prospect all that much, which is understandable, especially with a big orchestra. So I feel like they maybe summed it a bit to mono and chucked one of us right and one of us left. But in my ears, it sounded good, and I was really happy with how the sort of programming went. But we had two days of, again, this sounds like a lot of rehearsal when I say it. We had 2 days in Fairfield Halls, which is Croydon. I could say rehearsing with the BBC orchestra on one day, and then the singers came in on the second day. It's amazing how you don't do things twice. So, okay, let's do that bit again. It was just like, okay, good.
The second time is the gig.
Yeah, and then I'm making adjustments on the thing, and we did like another little tech run through us essentially at the Royal Albert Hall. But I was like making small adjustments all the way through as we went. Very, very quickly. You can't say, hang on. Once that train is rolling, it's rolling. The sheer pace of which you work in these, when you're a small part of a big system, is kind of nuts. I haven't really sort of been used to working on that scale. And, by the end result, a lot of those details get sort of missed, really. I was quite sort of quiet in the overall mix. And yeah, one thing to say is it was televised, so it wasn't broadcast live, but it was televised later on with a few songs cut.
Are we allowed
broadcast
to
live on the radio?
Are we allowed to show any of it, or is that like?
I don't know the.
I can mute it, and you can just you can show just a little thing where you see both. You can kind of see the scale of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's do that. I mean, I'll talk over it so that it's not sort of.
Yeah. Give us director commentary.
Oh, yeah. And just before, just real time follow up. Quickly go back to me that it was Kemper were the first they invented and patented it. So maybe that's why there was nobody else for some time until. Yeah, but and he says hello, everyone.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Right. Let's see. Now, I can't really show this in real time while we're on Zoom, and do you know what I mean? Streaming it and stuff, but it's basically your hot stuff solo is the bit.
Oh sure, yeah.
So hot stuff indeed.
But you should probably be able to see it on stream now by the time we've finished talking. Have you got for the delay?
I was
doing it live, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, is it playing now? We just can't hear it.
It's not playing yet. I've just not.
Well, I can see it on the stream now. So if you
cool,
if you play,
I'll play
you
it.
See that
it's muted, so we don't get in trouble.
Yeah. So all of the singers at the front, all the backing singers, and then there was a couple of main turn singers, if you like, who are absolutely incredible. Big performances from all of those guys, and as you can see, the Albert Hall is 5,000 seats. It's got this enormous organ at the back of the venue. BBC Concert Orchestra, big.
I thought you were standing at the front, mate.
Big fun. Disco balls, 5,000 people, fun in the sun. People dressed in interesting disco attire, having a good boogie down on the dance floor. And I guess it's what you call a kind of classical crossover event, and you've got a big orchestra, but with a band and playing popular songs. So it's a bit sort of outreachy, which is part of the remit of doing the proms. I think it's somewhat controversial that they do that because there are a lot of purists.
They don't want that hippity hoppity stuff.
Yeah, they don't. They would rather there would be more opportunities for new composers or something. But that's a debate that rages in the musty world of academia. As you might be able to see if you ever go and watch the video, I'm using my white Ibanez, which was cool. In fact, unfortunately, they cut this song from the broadcast, but Tommy does a solo on Devil's Gun, So no, they didn't cut this.
They cut
this
your
part.
solo?
No, they don't. They didn't cut my solo. They cut Tommy's solo.
No.
Yeah, they cut Devil's Gun, and Tommy used a floral Ibanez gem, the blue floral gem. And
Sacrilege.
for one moment, there were two guys stood at the front of the Royal Albert Hall playing with an orchestra with two Ibanez guitars.
So they
which would
could
not have been possible 10 years ago before the AZ revolution.
So there was almost opportunity that there'd been an Ibanez gem, floral blue Ibanez gem on TV.
Yeah.
On the Royal Albert Hall.
Maybe that's where they cut it. But it was really, really fun. The Ibanez was great. I got Ibanez very kindly sent me a very similar AZ to mine as a spare, because I only had that one, and I thought, well, if the string breaks, I don't have a similar guitar to pick up and play the same, through the same patches, and for it to sound moderately equivalent. So they very kindly lent me one for that show, and I used. I was in ears, but
what was Tommy playing? Sorry, what's Tommy playing through on the floor? Kemper.
Yeah. So and a Kemper cab, because somewhat in this situation, not everyone is able to hear what our modelers are doing. Like the monitoring system for an orchestra that are quite quiet instruments, some of them, there's a difficulty with them to monitor what the other instruments are doing. They're not wearing in-ears en masse. So as such, I did have to use my cabinets, but it was mainly for a monitoring purpose.
Oh, you had the LFR, the Laney LFRs, didn't you?
So I got two. I bought two LFR from Laney, which were which were great. I mean,
I
wasn't
awesome.
listening to them in the gig, but other people could hear them, and that's what they were hearing.
They punched so high above their price point. Those things, amazing.
Well, I quite like the lights.
To
be honest, I quite like the lights.
It's fitting for the disco kind of pimping kind of
I was really happy with my little rig.
Cool.
To be honest, it was it really did the job. But yeah, the nerves.
Yeah, let's counter that.
And the adrenaline.
Playing.
Just insane. Now I do a lot of shows, and I do I play regularly ABBA Voyage, which is 3,000 people. So I'm not. It's not like I've got any kind of big crowd nerves. I mean, it's not really about the number of people you're playing in front of. It was just the sort of nature of going, okay, anything I do now is potentially immortalized. If I slip over, if I'm caught, with the string break or something, that's going to be on TV. That's what.
Get a boner.
That's what Nan. That's what
you
Nan
wear
is
your guitar
gonna...
very high like us.
I almost walked out on stage with my flies undone. Right, that kind of thing.
Don't trip over your own feet walking out. Don't do it.
Because I don't think I've ever done anything on TV before. I know I've done this morning.
I was on Texas breakfast.
Was that Hoya?
No, that was like a pop gig that I was doing way back in the day. Pre JTC, Jake. That was on this morning with Eamon Holmes, which was fun.
Not Phil.
Not Phil. No.
Dodged a bullet there.
Phil. Yeah, I mean, well,
young Jake.
Phil dodged bullet. Holly Willoughby. That's a bit of a shame. So
I wanna ask you about because the solo on Hot Stuff is great, and it's not very long. So for as like a brief, if someone was like, right, here you got to play these songs, you've got a solo here, it's only 8 bars long, it's going to be in television, you've got one go at it.
Yeah.
Do you go, right, I'm gonna write a solo? Do you go, I'm gonna stay in my safe zone? Do you absolutely freeball it? As a moment, me personally, I would probably go, probably would write something, and then I would just try really hard not to think about I have to deliver this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? There's that weird ground of like, because if you go,
That's the
yes, I've
thing.
got to deliver this written solo,
yeah,
you're probably more likely to mess it up.
Yeah,
Yes.
it can come across a bit static, and you're not like reacting in the moment. The original Hot Stuff solo is quite interesting. If you listen to it, there's this like really weird chromatic thing in it.
It's quite long as well for for like a radio
it's like
kind
a
of
Creedence
pop
solo.
song.
Yeah,
It's like it's got a good length to it. How many bars is it? The original?
I don't know how many, but
It's a
it's
chunk.
certainly longer than what I was given to work with.
Yeah.
But it's got this weird chromatic line in it, and I was like, okay, well, I basically thought whatever I do, I'm going to end it with this chromatic line. And
Which was sick, by the way.
So the chromatic that was sort of prepared
the
in a sense that
is like that's like the end of the solo.
Yeah.
Like I knew that was like I knew where to start in. The rest of it was improvised, and I did like rehearsal 1. I did an improvised solo, and I was really happy with it. 2 rehearsals, I was like, okay, you know, I've done enough homework in terms of my playing to deliver that. But again, you just when you're actually doing it and you go, fuck, okay, here it is, and now's the time. I've got to do it. Okay, press the right patch. Everything kind of becomes
man.
You know, like.
And
Okay,
you don't want that. You don't want that. Like, I'm so hyped up. I'm going to bend this.
This
bend up to the G like a full semitone out.
I did rush a bit, you know, like, but that's adrenaline. That's the noise of the moment, and that's just being in that sort of state of okay, don't fuck it up. And then also the idea of. I think if I'm doing that every week, or you get another go at it, and you know, let's say you do over the course of your career, like some of the guys that have played, they might have played on TV 10, 15 times. They've already got their back catalogue of having done that. This might be the one thing I ever do, and so to go in and leave some crumbs on the table at that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And the thing is, as well, is that it's like it's a moment in time that you can. I mean, obviously, I imagine it won't stay on iPlayer forever. But you can. There's means of making it so you do have it for forever. Sure. And it's like that's a thing that you did. This is the day it happened. This is when it came out. It's like it's like a little stamp in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
other gigs are sort of not fleeting, but they're not as. You know what I mean? Well, they're not televised. This is like a published piece of work.
Yeah. But I will tell you this, and this is something that I've like really baked in to my playing over like in terms of getting match fit. Okay, I might struggle a little bit if there are changes, but if you put me on one, if you put me on a like single chord vamp. I might play something with dodgy time, but I'm virtually never ever playing any wrong notes. Like zero. Maybe I'm not gonna say like I could play maybe like 10 to 20 minutes in one key and never play outside of the note that I intended to play on. And so you get to a level, I guess, with all this stuff that the really bad stuff is out of your system, right? So don't have to worry about that. Just have to worry about the timing, or just like not sort of producing a nice sound, or you can worry about phrasing if you're not worrying about the notes.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, and the same with the prom. I did quite a bit of lead playing. Like they mix it so low that you can't really hear it. But the same there were no like wrong notes. It was just maybe some less than ideal little bits, but it was pretty good. I got away with it. I can go to any point in that thing and be happy with what.
I'm just watching the stream now.
As well, man.
Oh, that's sick. That's nice, yeah. And is Tommy on the Sir?
Tommy's on his Landau Sir, which is one of the best guitars I've ever played. It's really lovely.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a very special instrument, that.
I've watched about. I've not got to that sort of moment. I'm about
Mm.
30 minutes in watching on iPlayer on my.
For
So
anybody that does go to iPlayer, I think it's about 50-minute mark
Yeah,
ish.
52 minutes is this, or 51 minutes is the hot stuff solo.
There you go.
But
yeah.
I will say this as well. When people say, "Oh, I'm going to be on TV," when people say that, they often mean that, you know, there's like a kind of local news story, and they've got like 30 seconds. They're interviewed for 15 minutes, and then they've got like 5 seconds here and there for their, like, for, you know, whatever is edited out for
They're in the audience on Jeremy Kyle for like a split
exactly,
second.
precisely. Yeah, so, but actually, because Tommy and I are like right at the front, I swear we make up about 30% of the footage of this thing.
Yeah, you're on
I
screen.
couldn't
Like,
believe you're just right up there. And look, you're the
Yeah.
only one standing up. Well, other than the singer, the vocalists.
Yeah.
It's
And
just everyone else is sitting down, of course, and then it's just you and Tommy just up erect, proud and erect with your Ibanez's.
yeah,
the bassist is like he's like quite deep, isn't he? The bassist.
yeah, he's
Kind of
he's
tucked
sat,
in there with the drummer, like.
because the rhythm
Yeah.
section's really crap. Would you believe there's? I mean, there's not a lot of space once you get the orchestra in to put a grand piano. You know, the whole rig that we were. So we were pretty limited on space.
Like, what
We
was
were
what
right
was the
at the
thinking?
front.
Do you know what the thinking was behind where you and Tommy were placed? Because it's almost like it looks like it's intentional, but was it just like a logistical thing?
I wouldn't be able to say, but again, like being so close, being so at the front, there's quite a lot of like, yeah, it's just crazy amount of, like, you know, of footage of me on the
FaceTime.
iPlayer, like, no, and you know, not looking ridiculously scruffy like I normally do, which is quite cool. It's like, okay, yeah, there's Jake in a suit for an hour and a half.
You look
iPlayer.
good, man. You both look really good. Like, I was
Yeah,
kind of like, oh, look at these boys up there.
Quick trip to the Turkish barbers underneath
Doing
me.
the thing.
Yeah,
Get your ear hairs burnt
I
off
did.
and all that.
I got the ears burnt off. I got the yeah.
The cotton bud wax up the nose and the whole thing.
It's so great.
Tie it to two stallions.
I literally live above these barbers, so I end up going a lot more. I mean, weirdly, it's a complete tangent, but when I was growing up, my mum was a hairdresser, so she would always cut my hair. I'd like never paid for a haircut. I'd just go and get mum to do it. So I'd never been to a barber's even, and now I go to, because obviously she's no longer with us, but now I go to these Turkish guys underneath, and it's just a completely different experience, the Turkish barber thing. And what's weird is that on my road, I reckon there's like 4 or 5 Turkish barbers, and the one underneath me is always so busy. The other ones, I never see anyone in them. In central London, something weird is happening.
Does actually
It's
sound
like-
like a Doctor Who episode.
I read
It's
some statistic that that to pay for like the rent or something, they would have to be
I saw
doing
that.
like doing like an obscene amount of barbering. You know, the amount of people living in the catchment area, if you like, they would have to get their hair cut something like 72 times in a month. I can't remember the details, but it's quite a funny stat.
So I was cutting my hair all through COVID myself, and then I just found a decent barber locally, like, and it's a Turkish barber, but it's like, and it's quite good, but like the last 2-3 times I've gone, it's just all he wants to talk about is like Israel Palestine, and it's like,
That's not what you want.
Well, no, because like it's awkward because on the one hand I'm quite up for like robust debate, but on the other hand he's got scissors to my neck and like
And
hair
razor blades.
and razor
Yeah, yeah.
blades, and it's like, yeah, I'm just going to agree to everything this dude says.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, so, but it's like super local and it's dirt cheap, so, and it's really good. But yeah,
Yeah, I think that the guys underneath me are good. But we don't stray into geopolitics.
Hey, I didn't bring it up. Like,
Glad to
I
say.
know you might not believe that, but like, it's like, I'm not that stupid to bring up like contentious issues when some guys like got in control of my follicle destiny.
Yeah, Follicle Destiny.
Great band.
Yeah.
Oh, just tying up
I might-
a previous hole. Hot Stuff Solo, OG one, is according to Wikipedia, is Jeff Skunk Baxter.
Oh, is it?
Ex-Stevie Brother and Steely
And
Dan
Steely
guitarist.
Dan. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Who
So
is
that makes sense.
who is in a band with the Hungarian ambassador, the ex-Hungarian ambassador to the US, and I can't remember what they're called. Do you remember that meal we went to, Beebs?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And you were there, Dan,
I
right?
think I was there, yeah.
Yeah, you were there in New
Yeah.
York, right? With that guy. What were they called?
Oh,
remember.
God. Can't remember.
It was
now.
like their name was a political pun in itself.
God, that's a memory. You've like proper opened up a cupboard in my mind palace there that's been locked for a little bit.
That was a crazy experience. What was it called? Okay, I'm gonna have to use my Google foo here.
Foo. Well, while you do that, I think I might do the same things last time and start to bow out. How long have we been going? What time is it?
It says live 1 minute. It's like an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. That's
Well,
about
can-
my. I hit my. What's it? Hit the wall. Broke my seal.
We can pretty much wrap it up though.
Should we wrap it up anyway?
Yeah,
sensible.
I think we came back with a bang, didn't we? Like 3 hours last episode. So
It's
this
called
is
the band is called the Coalition of the Willing. Diplomat. I've just found a thing in New York Magazine called Diplomats Who Rock. Yeah, crazy.
Well, if you've made it this far, leave a comment saying "Diplomats who rock."
Diplomats Who Rock.
blues ambassadors.
Which I think your Turkish barbers could do with getting round.
It's been fun, guys. It's been really good.
Oh, we
Enjoyed
didn't
it a lot.
mention obviously no Tom today, but because he's getting ready for the
Oh, he's going
to
woodshed
woodshed.
thing
He's
tomorrow.
practicing, packing
so
and practicing.
next time hopefully we'll be here and we'll have some tales from the road.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just quickly leave a plug here for if you don't have iPlayer obviously in your country.
Plug away.
It's difficult, but go and check out the concert. It's a really fun gig. It's a really fun concert. Not just for the guitar playing. It's somewhat irrelevant. Callum's charts are amazing, and it's just a really fun concert to watch. It's
There's not really any dead
No,
moments in
no.
it. It's very well arranged. It's very well
and it's
made.
Goes.
It's you are thoroughly entertained throughout.
yeah, it's like it's a genuinely world-class piece of entertainment, and it was really an honor to be part of it. It's something I never thought would happen. I'm delighted it did.
There's something I noticed as a last question about this, in case we don't speak about it that much in the future, is obviously you and Tommy stood up for the whole thing. Oh, there's one tune where Tommy's playing like what's he playing, like a balalaika or something?
Oh yeah, but balalaika. So.
Yeah. On
I just sort of turn
yeah.
around and I'm like, what's Tommy got on there?
Yeah, he's got a triangle of doom. It was for the song Rasputin by Boney M.
Rasputin, that's the one. Big and strong.
Oh yeah, do you guys know who Jay Rayner is?
Who?
Jay
is it the
Rayner.
name?
He's like a famous restaurant critic.
Right.
He was tweeted. He was watching the coverage on BBC and he was tweeting about it. It's like, this is really really surreal. That like these like Tony Blackburn was there watching. Like if you go on like the hashtags, these are these are big
Makita
deals
from
with people.
T4 was there.
Yeah, exactly. Heather Smaltz. I don't know. They weren't there, but
Vanessa Feltz.
yeah.
all the big hitters. No, the actual question was there's a couple of times because you are stood up at the front. There's one time where you sat down, and I was like, oh, what's he sitting down for? Just from a visual thing. But from what you said, you were probably tweaking a
No,
preset.
I wasn't tweaking a preset. I was just there was if I wasn't playing for a prolonged period of time, I sat down.
Oh, fair.
And there's one song that I'd given me and Tommy rests where one of us doesn't play in. Like there's a couple of songs where just it only needed, or it didn't even need a guitar. It was just like, yeah, just chill, just take a rest on this one. Because I'd done the parts because I was organising who was playing what. I'd done the parts so that no one would have like loads of things to worry about one after another. And again, like we each got solos, we each got like lead bits, and it was just a case of, distributing who did what where.
Did that? I mean, I don't know how the organisation was, but would that not mess with the sound guy or like? Oh no, because you're both in the same spot, so it doesn't really make a difference. But if you've mixed and matched guitar 1 and guitar 2 parts.
Oh yeah,
and the guy has got a cue sheet that's expecting a solo there.
But what happens there is guitar 1 and guitar 2, and then guitar 1 becomes like the parts become Jake and Tommy.
I see.
Right, so the numbering is kind of irrelevant. The sound guy has a score there, but they also have had a tech run through and knows who does what for the main bits. Annoyingly, I think I've got this like really gnarly fuzz sound in the first number where I play like a not like lead but like feature fills with this fuzz sound, and I think the sound guy just goes, "Oh, that's a bit hot," and he turns it. You can hear him like turn down the fader, him or her, and then I seem to be like really quiet for the rest of the gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it was like. It was meant to be like gnarly and loud, like with that fuzz thing, right? Anyway, that was a bit of a shame because there's a bit in what I heard in my ears during Rock the Boat at the end. I'm actually playing like a kind of funky infilly lead part with Ross Stanley doing the organ solo, and it was so great. It was like one of my favorite musical moments that I've ever done. So fun. It sounded so great, and I was like really happy with what I played. I was like, I can't wait to listen to that bit. Actually, that was quite a good bit, and you just can't really hear me, but that's a shame. But when I listen to it back, I'm like, I can see why that decision would be made, because how do you even go about mixing something like that where there's that many people?
What a job.
Do you know what was the total personnel number? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know, but it was also the same. I think it was pretty much the same mix that went out on the live broadcast, like the radio broadcast, because it was live on the radio as well. So I actually finished the gig. I got in the Uber, and then I rewound. In the UK, we've got on the BBC website a way to like listen to the radio on what you call iPlayer, and I just rewound Radio 3 and listened back to the gig I just did. In the Uber.
It's
so
sick.
weird.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Amazing, dudes. Proud of you. That's really amazing.
It was really fun. Hopefully, I'd love to do more of that. I can tell you as much. It's nice to be being called by guys like Callum to come in and do it. But for anyone listening and wondering about getting gigs like this, it's purely a trust economy. I don't know how accidentally you end up doing the things that get you in those positions, but you could draw like some weird like butterfly effects, but it's like just graph of like, oh, so to get this I did that, but to get that I did that, to get that I did that, and then it could go back like it takes forever.
You being nice to the guy in the post office 10 years ago,
and luck to just get on with someone as well. Like, and there are other people who all of a sudden, their best mate from college becomes a big MD, and then they get booked on everything. It's just how the world works, right? And it's nice for one of those to fall on my lap, and I was very grateful.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's just
Yeah, man.
look all the way down, and it's nice
Yeah.
that you've got some. So yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
absolutely.
And you totally, you're a phenomenal world-class player, so it's absolutely, it's all congruent.
Very kind, brother.
So,
It feels nice to have. It feels nice to have something to. Because obviously I do lots and lots of shows. It was quite high pressure shows where I've sort of gotten used to that feeling, and maybe doing that amount of shows gave me the headroom to get through this gig. But it's quite nice to have real proof in a live environment where there's nowhere to hide, literally nowhere to hide. Getting through it and delivering, and hopefully that makes me a little bit more employable than before this.
yeah, man, great stuff. Great
And
stuff.
photogenic for TV.
Yeah, well,
Your face for TV
it's
now.
very, very kind. I mean, it's so weird to. I can't. Sorry, keep going on about it, but I can't tell you how weird it is to see, because BBC broadcast footage has a look to it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a what's it called? What is the term? I haven't done much with my cameras lately.
Like a
Lightbox. Yeah, a LUT. So the BBC, the live BBC broadcast LUT, whatever they're using, which is very clean, obviously, but it's kind of surreal to see myself through that LUT.
Through the lutting dots.
Yeah, and to know that I can go on a site that I go on. I use the BBC website every day. That's my, apart from Twitter or X, I use the BBC for my news because it's slower and it tends. You can criticise it, quite fairly at times, but again, it's slower and it's I would say less likely to be inaccurate. Again, you probably quibble the details, but anyway, I use that for my news. I go to the BBC, and so it's weird that I can navigate that site and find 90 minutes of footage of me playing guitar. It's crazy.
Magic,
Magic Mike.
Right then, guys, I'm going to
legends.
get off and
Yeah, man.
get some more to eat and go to bed. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching live. If you have done, the three of you that did, much appreciated. And everyone that's listening, as always, on the RSS feed. Sorry that the podcast feed. Sorry that the audio is not what it used to be, but it's this or nothing. So
yeah, that's it.
It'll lump it.
If anything, the live is getting better and better. I've been editing on the fly here in
Dan.
studio mode,
in fact,
and switching stuff. So
in some ways, maybe this whole on the theme of live is like maybe it doesn't require as much editing anyway, and it's because we're just doing it live, so we know we can't say fuck a bugger,
or if we do, we have to live with it, and that's reality.
Yeah. Consequences.
Yeah. I think
live podcasts.
I like to think I've got a budget for these things. Maybe I'll say 5 or 6 bullshit things in the course of maybe a podcast that are completely nonsense. But I think my budget's about 10.
Yeah. The real test will be when Tom comes back. Can we do it with 4 of us live and keeping the obscenities and slurs to a minimum? When it's all 4 of us, when we properly assemble.
The South-North abuse.
I wonder whether the biggest obstacle to the podcast was just the time it took to edit out the unmentionables.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that little stat about the shows we're doing, I don't have evenings that are reliably free anymore. I've got this one, but maybe not everyone can make it. Maybe it's just me and Dan. Maybe it's just me and Beebs. Maybe it's just me and Tom. Or for that,
or whoever.
Yeah, exactly. And then
because we're going to try and keep this going, and we're just going to try and just turn it on and do it, whatever. And that might be us 4. It might be other friends. It might be
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we're just going to try and keep it going.
It's something wrong.
Because I genuinely have missed talking to you guys, and in this not happening regularly. So
It keeps me
yeah.
thinking about guitar in a way that is kind of edifying.
Mm.
You know, getting sort of challenged on sort of concepts. I think it's definitely great to have a peer group or fraternity who keep you engaged in the material. I think it's been really good for my playing to be doing the podcast. Even if it's sort of some sort of directive of, hey, have you guys been working on this standard, for example?
Yeah.
And then I've got something to look at.
Alternatively, like that gig came in, and you might be absolutely shitting your pants, and you want to talk to guys that understand what's going on. Because this is going to sound. I've had things in the past where you try and talk to somebody about a musical thing, and if they're not musical and they don't understand, it sort of doesn't hit the same. Do you know what I mean? If you're like worried about, if you're worried about doing a gig and you speak to somebody that doesn't play live music, doesn't really know all of the things that are actually making you particularly anxious about that thing, it's not to say that their concern and their like support is not like is not good and is not received. It just hits a bit different when it's somebody that knows exactly what's going on.
It's knowing,
and can say exactly the things of like. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It sounds insulting to people. It sounds like this is some little exclusive club, man, but it's not.
You're describing empathy.
Yeah.
It's a survivors group.
Anyway,
yes.
let's leave it there. Seems like all the tech worked.
Yeah, I think we're nailing this.
Mega, nice one.
So
Mega.
Mega. You're not signing off with a MAGA.
I can't sign off with a MAGA.
I know.
I thought you signed off with a Mega.
On. Right, guys. We're getting into dangerous ground. So, see you next time.
Mega.
Probably next.